port. Austin mentioned the Port of Los Angeles. 75% of our product comes in by ocean. So we have a competitive advantage by being close to that port. We can clear our goods, bring them out to our location in Sun Valley, and get them distributed. And we really work on a just-in-time basis of getting product in, turning it around very quickly, and we ship it worldwide. So having that port here is a major advantage. The airport. We have a very large, what we call traveling squad at REM Eyewear. They travel the world, and so having a large airport and even the regionals in our area allow people to travel unexpectedly as well as planned. And you might not have that opportunity if you lived in Bakersfield or Victorville. There's no close international airports there. From a vendor point of view, we seem to have infinite opportunities to buy services and products that are offered here in Southern California. Whether it's freight services, whether it's software services, banking opportunities to partner up with banks. There's a huge amount of people that seem to want to do business with REM Eyewear. We're a growing business, and I think that these things are major opportunities and advantages. And lastly, REM is a family business. We're in our third generation of family members there. We're active in our local community. We have a volunteer corps that goes out and works locally in a lot of the schools. Would we have that same opportunity? Probably someplace else, but we take pride in that. We're active with our emergency services, and we try to keep our neighborhood sane and safe as best as we can.
Thanks, Don. I was asked to just give an opening remark and some of my thoughts. And it's incidentally, I have said from time to time that the California legislature really sometimes is an economic development agency for states like Texas and Florida, because what we've been doing is we've been creating all these regulations. And as I go around the state, and I've traveled throughout the state, almost every corner from the state, as I talk to business owners and I ask them, what are some of your ideas? And a lot of times people talk about the taxes, but more than taxes, and we are one of the highest tax states in the nation, the thing I hear the most is the regulations and the regulatory environment that we have here in California. One of the headquarters in my district in Santa Barbara is a company called CKE. It's the Carl's Jr. Hardee's company. And the CEO, Andy Pusner, is a friend, and as I've talked to him to try to keep him here in California, he has not opened up a restaurant, a new Carl's Jr. in California, in 2 years. And when he talks to me about the regulatory environment, he says for us to go from concept to opening up a restaurant, it takes us 2 years here in the state of California. And it takes him 3 months in the state of Texas. And so he hasn't opened up a new Carl's Jr. here in 2 years. And they're popping up everywhere in Texas. And so he's now talking about moving his headquarters from Carpinteria to Dallas, Texas. But more importantly than the corporate headquarters, think about the jobs that we lose with young people not getting their first start out because you're not opening up more Carl's Jr. Not every job was meant for a family of four. My first job was working in a nursing home washing wheelchairs just so I can get some extra money in the pocket so I could take my girlfriend out and buy a used car. We're missing out on this young generation and being able to have those startup jobs to be able to get that workforce experience that all of us want them to have. And so when we talk about regulation, one other visual that I just like to leave with you, a gentleman by the name of Alan Teixeira. He owns Teixeira Farms. He's a large broccoli grower in the northern part of my district up in the northern Santa Barbara area. When I went to his office, he talked to me about the regulations, and he showed me 2 state agency letters that he received. One state agency said, you can't recycle any of your water. Another state agency sent the same letter, and he said, you have to recycle all of your water. He said, Senator, I'm happy to do what you want to do, but I can't recycle all of it and none of it at the same time. And I think that's one of the biggest problems we have here in the state of California, is we need to come together and merge these bureaucracies, because I can't tell you how many people have called my office that are frustrated because they get the runaround. They call an agency, they get referred to another agency, and then they get referred back to the first agency that they called, and then they call my office and they're frustrated. So what I'm doing, and I'm moving forward on an idea, it's called the Bureaucracy Realignment and Closure Commission. And what this is modeled after the Base Realignment and Closure Commission. If you remember when we won the Cold War, when the federal government wanted to close down military bases, every time a base came up for closure, the local congressman, the local U.S. senator would not allow it to happen, and we never got it done until they created this commission that went forward and went around and see where the bases were duplicating services, and then they came in with a consolidation package to the Congress and said simple up or down vote. I think we need to do something like that here in California because there's too many agencies that are doing the same thing. Let me give you an example. Do we really need a franchise tax board and a board of equalization? Do we really need a Department of Education under the governor and a directly elected superintendent of schools that are not communicating with each other? We can be more efficient. And again, tax structure's high, but I think when I've talked to entrepreneurs and I talk to small businesses, one of the things I hear the most, even more than the tax structure, is a frustration with regulation, and we need to fix it from the government perspective and be more efficient moving forward. So those are my opening comments, but we're not here just to hear just the opening comments. We want questions from you, and we left plenty of time for interaction and questions. Go ahead, Gary. Oh, Tony, I'm sorry. Bad eyes.
Sure. Thank you. Let me talk about that a little bit because I don't think the issue is the connection from leadership to how it happens. I think the issue starts with leadership, and I think Tony's the exception, people who understand that change needs to be made. And I'll tell you what I found when I went to work for the city. Again, I found a city forgotten that it's there to get a result, serve the needs of constituents. When I started there, I spent about 15 months. The first thing we started to do is to try to find a way to streamline permitting. Brings capital in the community, puts people to work, whether it's a skyscraper or a restaurant. And by the way, my first job was washing dishes in a restaurant, so I think I understand starting in the back of the bus. So we started to find a way to try to do this. Now, I asked around the city, and I was told you're in luck. 2 years before you got here, the mayor and the president of the city council and all the folks in city council announced a streamlining program called 12 to 2 to make 12 city departments involved in permitting work like 2. Probably should have been 1. That's okay. 2 sounds better than 12. And if they'd done their homework, they would have found there are actually 17 departments involved. So the new guy say, all right, I've been here. Nice to get this one over the goal line, right? They've been working on it for 2 years. It's a good way to get started. So I ask everybody working on 12 to 2 to meet me in a conference room. I go down the hall, sort of expecting maybe a celebration and a cake for the new guy or something. And I walk in, conference room's empty. No celebration, no cake. I look down the hall. I ask around. It turns out there's nobody working on it. And I go back to the announcement. It was the trifecta. Morning talk radio, the newspaper, even made the evening news. As far as the elected officials were concerned, that's it. Nobody was doing the work. We'll go back to those 2 department heads. We changed one of them. You can actually fire people in government. We did. We told the other one this was a priority and to start to work on it. I found someone 2 layers down in the bureaucracy who had a good set of ideas, and I said, I'll cover your back. You do the work. And in less than 6 months in Los Angeles, we cut in half the time it takes to permit a restaurant. No new rules, no new ordinances, No new slogans or no press conferences. We just put people in place, measured them, held them accountable, and got them to do the work. Now, we can improve it further, but I think what I'm talking about is leadership who understands measure the result, not the promise, not the slogan, but let's find a way to put people in office who will roll up their sleeves and make sure something happens. It's what you do every day for your clients. It's what our government needs to do for us. It can be done. Now, this one, if you actually parse through how they're able to do it, it's really simple. Those 17 departments used to pass the paperwork serially, Department 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. And by the way, by the time it got back to 1 or 17, the rules had changed, and so they went around again, right? So we said, how about this simple idea? One person speaks for the